Hello and welcome to this UniCourse video. My name is Ashley and the topic of today's session is aligning business and strategic goals with objectives. And the goal or the main aim of today's session is to discuss the interconnecting elements in strategy and how they cascade down to operational and day-to-day tasks and objectives. So let's get started. If you have tuned into our previous sessions on introduction to strategy, strategic analysis, or the SWOT or the PESTLE in the series, I thought it would be good to be able to move forward with aligning goals with objectives, and then that will lead us nicely on to the next series, which will be on performance management. So if you haven't had a look at our previous sessions on strategy and you would like to, have a look at our playlists or on our YouTube channel. Okay, so I'm going to start by defining the difference between the different planning techniques within an organisation. So you've got your business planning, which looks at, the overall, running or setup or new projects within the business plans. And then you're looking at your strategic plans, which are, like a framework. They're a framework that on their own don't provide tangible results, but with good action planning included and tactical planning, you can actually aim to achieve them strategic goals through tactical planning. So tactics are actionable steps for implementing your strategies, and the actionable steps that can be measured as well. So we're going to be focused on the link between strategic planning and tactical planning today. And we're going to be talking a lot about goals. Now, let me just first start by defining the difference. Like, organizations use different terms. Some use strategic goals, some use business goals, some use strategic aim, some even use strategic objectives. What I'm going to be focusing on today is when strategy is formulated. So maybe every 1 to 3 years, maybe 3 to 5 years for some organisations, they formulate a strategy based on where they want to be. And we'll touch upon that in a little bit more on the next slide. But what we're going to focus on today is strategic goals that link in with operational goals. And, operational goals link the different strategies together. The operational goals might be set in different departments for different reasons in order to achieve an overall goal. So some organisations might call them strategic objectives, or strategic goals, or strategic aims, but they're basically an idea of the key activities, but they can't really be achieved without linking that in with operational goals and planning, okay? But they are aligned with them strategic goals and objectives, so that's important to notice. I've provided a definition between the difference here. So strategic objectives are different than operational objectives. That's important to understand. Operational objectives give more instructions, give more definite actions and work plans for day-to-day operations, okay? So it's important to be able to define the difference there, okay? Okay, so we touched upon this slide in the introduction to strategy session that we did a couple of weeks ago, but I thought it was important just to point out these 3 key areas just before we move forward in case you haven't tuned into that session. So the 3 key areas of strategy is purpose, environment and capabilities. Obviously, when you're formulating a strategy and when you're reviewing your strategic purpose every couple of years, you'll be looking at, is the vision going to be the same? Is the mission statement going to be the same? Are the overarching goals going to be the same? Hopefully not. Hopefully you've achieved the goals that you wanted to, within the previous years, and your next goals will be, a development on previous goals, or it might be something completely different if you're reaching into a new market, for example, or expanding into a new customer base. It might be completely different, but understanding that purpose and and creating that vision is important there. And, we've talked about in the past the working environment, but understanding how to analyse and be fully aware of the internal and external factors that can influence the organisation and the strategic goals is really important. You could decide that you want to put forward a specific strategic goal, but the external environment will really, really impact on that goal. So you might want to put that off for a couple of years based on an analysis of the organisation's external environment. And then more often than not, the capability is how the organisation goes about achieving that strategic purpose or them strategic goals, and considering the resources and the people that they have in place to be able to do that successfully. Now, thinking about them capabilities, thinking about how you can use them capabilities effectively and efficiently is usually a key role in middle management. The strategy may be formulated, and it might be penciled in that this is how we're going to do this, but more often than not it's the middle management that will set about putting that operational actionable plan into place to achieve that them overarching goals. So they'll understand the capabilities more often than not, and they'll be able to do a work breakdown structure based on them capabilities as well. So just giving you a brief overview of strategy. Again, if you missed the introduction to strategy video, you might want to tune in for more detail. I'm just going to give you a quick overrun of it. Strategy is about analysing the organisation. Let's think of this circle as the organisation. Let's think that we are looking at the current state of the organisation, and we want to get to the future state, which will be, the vision of the organisation, where they want to be in 3 years, 5 years, however long the organisation set their strategic direction to be. And then, you might look at how are we going to get to that point, and you might want to think about designing, strategies or goals based on finance. You might want to, increase sales by 20% by the next year. You might want to increase your customer base and go global. You might want to, improve your operations to minimize waste, to become more efficient and effective. You might want to recruit more people with better expertise to be able to add something new to the organisation. So there's a couple of things that you'll be thinking about when you're looking at designing the plan to be able to get from that current state to the vision. You might want to think about doing a plan over 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, and focusing on the annual turnovers or the annual goals being achieved. You might want to look at it in a 3-year period. It's all about building that plan and then managing the people to ensure that them people understand the part that they play in achieving them overarching goals for the vision to be achieved. So setting smart KPIs, so key performance indicators or objectives that are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and time bound, and consider the people in the organisation. So you might have the senior manager that set departmental goals. They might have an overarching goal, and then they might set departmental goals, and then the departmental managers, the middle managers, will then set the individuals within their team specific key performance indicators that link to maybe departmental objectives that then link into the maybe the first year's overarching goal to be accomplished. And it's about managing them people, managing their performance, managing the relationships, and making sure that people management is at the forefront there. So looking at how you decide upon, a concrete plan for direction. So you may have the strategic goals, and then goals will then tend to be form plans. Now they could be specific projects or operational organizational plans, or they might be plans that are not just for the organization. It might be a partnership with another organization. But one of the key points to think about when you're looking at strategic choice and direction is engaging the staff and gaining their commitment. If they understand that this is what our vision and where we want to be in 3 years' time, and these are the overarching goals, the strategic goals that we've got, and this is what we've been set to accomplish as a department or team. What are your thoughts on our long-term objectives, and how do you think that this can help the organisation improve, and getting the people to get involved in discussions about that straight away is important. Also, you can get the team to analyse and research strategic options and look at the different directions that you can go, and think about evaluating them strategies to find the best suit for your team. Now, it might mean that another organisation that's got near enough the same sort of strategy, the strategy could be to reduce company complaints by customer complaints by 20%. There might be 3 different ways to go about that. There might be 3 different departments that can assist with that. It might be that, this is a really important thing that you need to get done in a year, and thinking about the different ways you can go about that, and evaluating them to make sure that when you do implement that plan, it's solid, everyone's happy with it, everyone's working on the same page, and people can be monitored, held accountable, and can actually be responsible for their own actions when when you're giving them a specific objective. And talking about the specific objective, when you think about them goals cascading down, and the cascading down from the top down to the person who's working on the floor, they should be aware of what their specific objective is, but how it links to a goal. If they understand that they've got a part to play in achieving a specific goal, it will allow them to be more motivated. So the benefits of goal setting, high achieving people feel motivated. So if they feel like they've achieved a specific goal or objective, or their own objective that links into an organisational goal, then they'll feel like they've played their part, and they can tick it off and say, right, okay, done with that, let's move on. And it's important as well to be able to measure their progress and be able to inform them, okay, when you have achieved it, give them a tap on the back and say, right, you've done what you need to do, let's move on. And if there is a deadline, it's important to think not just about the timing, so the date to do each task, but also think the time it takes to do it. So sequencing is often really important in planning, and that's when you can use strategic tools like a Gantt chart or work breakdown structure to avoid any sort of bottlenecks in work. So to avoid you having to wait for one person to complete their task in order for another task to get done, in order for that team objective to be completed. So if you can think about sequencing, using critical path analysis or something like that might be useful. Also, at this point, making sure that when you are planning and allocating these objectives, you're challenging people. You're not just setting them objectives that for a fact that they can do. Maybe just trying to push them a little bit, so when they do achieve it, they'll feel proud that they've completed that task because it was a bit of a push for them. So when you're thinking about setting goals and objectives, how can we do it effectively? Now, All organisations today, they use goals, objectives and targets, especially successful ones. They think about the outcomes, the results, the achievements, and they're an essential management tool and a key to ensuring progress and personal fulfillment as well. There's some key points to ensuring goals and objectives are set effectively, and I've pointed them out here. So, firstly, be clear about what is required, so the outcomes, results, or changes, and letting them know so they can stay on track. Basically, prioritise activities and workloads by focusing on the most important and significant goals before the others. Again, planning, using planning tools to see what needs to be done first and what needs to be done afterwards is good. Think about and ensure that you've thought about, specifically what resources are required to complete a task. And once you know the what and the when, you can then determine the how, sort of how it's going to be done, right? The staff and the resources you'll need to complete that task effectively without, having any bottlenecks in work. Because you don't want one department waiting for another department to complete something when they could be getting on with something else. And then, assessing the options and choices that as a task or projects gets underway, you can think about, okay, that isn't working, let's change, let's move on to something else, let's think of different ways to do it. If a specific direction or objective that you're doing isn't establishing or working towards that goal, and you find, okay, this isn't working anymore, maybe because of external influences on the company, then you can change an objective. You can adapt it, you can maybe improve it, maybe you can do it more effectively. So having one-to-one reviews with your staff is key to be able to do that. And measuring the success by thinking about how you can achieve the objectives and quantify the value that's being added by that person or by the team is, it's good measuring that success, and it'll also help them to gain that sense of achievement, and the team can gain that sense of achievement once they know that the goal's been achieved. The senior management, once they go into the next strategic meeting, if they know that all the goals have been achieved and they can set brand new goals for the coming years, that's also a great accomplishment for the organisation as a whole. I'm not going to go into this in major details. I'm just going to point out that, we know that objectives can be defined as quantifiable targets to be achieved within a specified time to specific and credible standards, technical, professional, or occupationally recognised standards. Now that is what SMART objectives is, and if you've done a couple of units with us before, you probably would have touched on SMART objectives, and it is a great acronym. But that the addition of the SMARTer, the ER, evaluating how progress is reviewed and recording evidence of achievement is only going to help a manager to be more successful in planning the next stage of objectives in order to meet them strategic and operational goals. We are going to touch on performance management in detail in the next series, but linking this to cascading them goals down to objectives, down to individuals and their performance, it's important to recognise key areas of performance. And Armstrong and Bannon pointed out clearly that communication and communicating a shared vision of the organisation's purpose and vision is essential. And if people don't know where the organisation wants to be, and maybe why this big change is being implemented, then they might not buy into them change. They might be resistant to change. So being fully transparent with the staff and saying, right, this is our new strategic direction, these are our new strategic goals, this is where we want to be, and you're going to be able to see a lot of changes because our vision has changed from the organisation, then people will go, okay, I understand why things are changing, what needs to happen, and the part that I need to play in achieving that vision in the long term. So, that communication is essential, and it's important as well to be transparent and informing staff of that what you expect of them. Expectation management is important in people management, and it's important when managing any person in an organisation. You want to let them know where the benchmark of performance lies. You want to let them know what high performance looks like and how they can go about achieving it, and that will only help to improve motivation, engagement, enthusiasm to achieve that. It'll also enable greater ownership. The person will be accountable and responsible for their own tasks and objectives. And if they are accountable, responsible, then they can then complete them with accomplishments, and they'll feel like that they're part of the team and they're part of the bigger picture, and that's really important for staff members. And I think it's really important for the staff, and then the staff will become loyal. You'll probably have less of a staff turnover as well. So, that's only good for the company. So I'm just going to touch upon some of the most popular performance management tools, but again, I'm going to talk about these in depth in the next series. So key performance indicators, as I touched on before, great tool for performance management, having regular one-to-ones with staff, and regularly updating and supporting them and achieving the key performance indicators is a great way to link the indicators to the organisation and strategic goals. Appraisals, just a really good communication tool as well, that opens up lines of communication for the staff and the leader or the manager, and it just allows them to be able to have input in their performance and their training, and be able to see clearly what's expected of them as well. 360-degree feedback questionnaires, I think, are absolutely amazing. They're brilliant because they can be done by the individual, the line manager, other people on the team. They allow you to be able to see gaps in knowledge and be able to clearly highlight areas for improvement. And often is the case, people might not know that something is necessary within their role, or something can be improved within their role, and an honest 360-degree feedback questionnaire can be really useful for anyone who wants to progress in their career. Rewards and recognition programs are, great motivational tools. They're great, to push people, and, it doesn't necessarily always need to be money. It doesn't need to be bonuses. It can be recognition for promotion, or employee of the month, or just getting a tap on the back for actually completing their tasks and objectives successfully and efficiently. It's great, especially for people that are intrinsically motivated. Performance management frameworks as well, like the balanced scorecard. I absolutely think that the balanced scorecard is a great tool to use if it is shown to the whole organisation once completed. And we'll touch upon that in a little bit more detail in the next session. And management by objectives, which is useful when the strategic goals and the vision of the organisation is clearly and transparently communicated to the staff. So there's a couple of performance management tools that can be used, and if used effectively, you can communicate the strategy to the staff through these different performance management tools, so they understand the part that they play in the strategic direction of the organisation. So today we have covered, strategy. I'll give you an overview of strategy again, just to provide you with insight into how strategic and business goals are set, and we've considered the strategic choice and direction and planning that's needed in order to be able to allocate objectives or tasks to staff for them to be able to have input and, for them to be able to achieve them objectives, to reach the goal, to then be able to achieve them goals and actually, work towards the vision and the mission and the purpose for the organisation. So hopefully this has been helpful. Thank you for watching this video today. If you do have any questions, you can contact me and have a little look at our series on strategy if you'd like a little bit more than what's been given on this video today. Thanks again. Bye.